Chapter 15 Vila's Family. After making it out of the camp, Vila and Luzmo sighed with relief. Though Vila was slightly annoyed there was no way of getting her things back. She made a mental note to stop in a Soledo town soon to get more hairpins. Vila turned to the girl, crouching so they were at eye level and supporting her since, like all the captured Sirode, one of her feet was missing. "What's your name?" she asked. "Viacinha," said the Siroda. "Why'd you save me?" Like most Sirode, she spoke with a thick, almost indecipherable Arderan accent. "We need to not get lost, and you deserve freedom." Vila sighed. "I want to save all of you, but for now this is the best I can do." Luzmo frowned. "How'd they get so many? Where are your parents? Why do they let you wander around alone?" Viacinha looked down. "They're gone. I can't see them no more." After they died, she had run into the forest where the Rosene had found her. Luzmo, Vila, and King Rilezo looked at each other. "Oh, goodness, I'm sorry. Is there somewhere else you can go?" Vila asked. She shook her head. She looked like she was about to cry. "Oh, dear." Vila looked to her companions. "What do you think we should do?" "Could you and your friend carry her?" King Rilezo asked. She frowned. "I'm not sure. Can you take her?" He frowned. "I do not think that is wise. You are elves. You will care for her better than I can." Vila looked back to Viacinha. "Do you want to go with Luzmo and me? It will be dangerous and we'll have to move a lot." "You saved me, so you're nice. They were mean. I don't want to be near them no more," said Viacinha. "All right," Vila said, though she sounded unsure of herself. "So can you take us out of the forest?" She nodded. Vila found her a walking stick and she led them out of the forest. "So," said King Rilezo, "what is your relationship exactly? And what are your names?" "I'm Vila of Auxiliary, daughter of Luchansa," Vila said. "Luzmo of Carvino, son of the tyrants," Luzmo said. "Which are friars, not monks," Vila said, smiling. Luzmo nodded. "I see," said King Rilezo. "So what is your relationship?" They looked at each other. Vila laughed a little. "I don't know. We were good friends before everything happened, but I'm not sure if it was really that or something else." "Guess I think so," Luzmo said. She nodded. "I got that. Has she really been saying those things this whole time, even after I left?" He nodded. "She has." She sighed. "Of course." She smiled. "Is it true about the Mid-Yorvavish?" He blushed. "Yes. Lou says seizure. That's not a bad thing." He blinked. "Oh, yes. Of course." She sighed. "You've been with Gesha for too long." He nodded. "Ah, now." They left the Forest of the Sword and traveled to Savine. It was a little over a week of travel, slower than usual due to the Rosene, but they did reach it on the last Shemachludi of Hewa. They figured out a way to hide Viacinha and Luzmo's distinct lack of a foot and hand. All except King Rilezo stopped using their real names except when they were alone, and Viacinha and Vila mimicked Luzmo's accent. Mimicking voices turned out to be something the girl enjoyed. Luzmo was Elmo, Via was Elia, and Viacinha was Fefasica. They were able to get enough money to buy Luzmo some special boots that would make him look average height. The journey ran through Agradi, and it was wonderful for Luzmo, King Rilezo, and Viacinha to go to the Carrier, like coming home. It was similar when Luzmo, Vila, and King Rilezo said their confessions, after a very long wait in line that almost ran through the end of the offered confession time, which left the priest very confused and worried. It felt as though great weights they had not known they had been carrying had been taken from them. When they reached the path, they found a Natas with the striking red and white scales and brown eyes, whose armor and spear marked her as a knight. She reacted with hostility first. "Hey, war!" She noticed King Rilezo, and her expression shifted to confusion, then back to hostility. "Water have the king." "Stand down, Alonta," said King Rilezo. "They are with me. We escaped from the Rosene, but I fear something has happened." She still looked wary, but relaxed and bowed her head. "It is good that you have returned. Queen Rila has been beside herself with worry, and we have been threatened into joining the war on the side of the Soledo." He grimaced. "So I heard." He turned to Luzmo and Vila. "Would you like to stay with us?" Vila shook her head. "Thank you, but I think we should stay on our own," she said in her fake accent. He nodded. "I understand. Good luck. I will keep you all in my prayers." Luzmo nodded as well. "So will we." He, Vila, and Viacinha bowed to him and left. King Rilezo and Alonta went inside. As soon as they were noticed, Queen Rila and Princess Zeluca ran to him. Queen Rila threw her arms around him, but surprisingly her daughter pushed her out of the way so she could do the same. "Thank goodness you are back safe!" Queen Rila exclaimed, too relieved to be annoyed at her daughter. King Rilezo smiled. "It is good to be back." His expression darkened. "Though I fear something terrible has happened." Her eyes widened. "Oh dear! They did not hurt you, did they?" He shook his head. "No, it could be much worse than that." Her face settled into a worrying expression, as her husband and daughter called it. "Oh dear, you must tell everyone again." He nodded. He did not remember Garento returning, only that something bad had happened and that the Rossini wanted it. "People of Seville," he called. Conversation stopped as everyone turned to see their king. They cheered in celebration at his return. When they had quieted, he continued, "Yes, I have returned, though I wished it were under better circumstances. You may have heard what happened. That I was captured by the Rossini in the Belodan monastery in Sirna Lake, and my companions, Agnalisa and Lucio, were killed. I am very sorry this has happened. They fought and died bravely, and we will always honor their sacrifices. Now, during my time in captivity, something terrible happened, though I do not know what it was. However, it does appear that they wish to bring back the Jarissa King, Garento." He wished he could have started with that, but he also needed to honor the dead. The room collectively flinched and gasped at the news and the use of Garento's name, beginning to mutter about it. Princess Luca's voice cut above them. "Bring Garento back? But how? He died! And what do you mean, somehow?" "It means I do not know how, but I suspect they might try. They are the servants of the Rojasico, after all. I will meet with my council to decide what to do next." They went into another room to meet, while the civilians discussed what they would do, and the messengers were sent out to tell the villages what had happened. Meanwhile, Luzmo, Vila, and Viacinha went south, towards Sillery. "Are you my mama and Bobo now?" Viacinha asked. Since they were alone, she spoke with her normal accent. Luzmo glanced at Vila, who shrugged. "All right, if you want to think of it like that," Luzmo said. She frowned. "But you weren't married," she said. Vila sighed. "It's complicated. We'll explain later." She used her normal accent as well. Her face brightened. "All right." "So, where are we going?" Luzmo asked. "Sillery," Vila answered. He frowned. "Why?" "I owe people some answers," she said. "Does your hand hurt, Bobo?" Viacinha asked. "My foot hurts sometimes, or sometimes it feels like it's still there, even though it ain't. One night I forgot it was gone 'cause it didn't feel like it was, and I fell down and started crying." She looked down. "They didn't like me crying." Luzmo put his hand on her shoulder. "I'm sorry, Viacinha." She frowned. "If I'm gonna call you Bobo, then shouldn't you call me Viacinha?" "Guess I should." "Well, I'm sorry, Viacinha. If I'd known what they were gonna do to you, I would never have joined them." Not like they would have let him refuse, but he did not remember why his hand had really been cut off. According to Moria, it was because he corrected Ethisica on the difference between monks and friars one too many times. "I know, 'cause you're nice, and a nice person wouldn't do that unless mean people were making him." She looked up. "So does your hand hurt?" she asked. He nodded. "It does." Viacinha nodded and took his left hand, smiling up at him. "It will be fine, Bobo. It will not hurt all the time," she said. He smiled. "I feel like I should be the one saying something like that to you." She frowned. "Why? I didn't lose a hand." Luzmo and Vila looked at each other and smiled. They reached it after a few more days of travel, a few hours after night, and knocked on the door of the house she was looking for. It was opened by a pretty woman dressed in black with green eyes, about Luzmo's height and maybe about 10 years older than him and Vila. "Good evening," she said. "Who are you?" "Good evening, Via Mercedes," Vila said. "I'm Vila Delia, and this is Luzmisho, and the little girl is Viasha." Viacinha blinked and looked up at her. "I ain't no little girl. I'm 5.5, and my name is Viasha." Luzmo laughed in surprise, but he was concerned that a 5.5-year-old girl was so small, as was Vila. "Luzmisho! Viacinha, you're just about the first person to call me that since my mama gave me the name." For some reason, despite running from, to his knowledge, a very dangerous woman and the Lord Rosena, he had felt at ease since they escaped. Maybe it was because he no longer had to play the dangerous game of interacting with Ethisica and Lord Gageloso. Maybe it was because he was finally able to pray and go to Lacaria again without worrying about being made fun of or the wrath of Ethisica. Maybe it was because he was with Vila. Maybe some combination of the three. She smiled. If Gageloso cared enough, he'd probably call you Luzmisho. Luzmo was surprised that she had just called him Gageloso. He had only ever heard Ethisica do that, and the Roseno had always corrected her. But all right, Luzmo. And for that matter, Vila and Viacinha, Vila said. She looked at the girl. Sorry, Viacinha, what's your full name then? Is that what my first mama yelled when she was quite mad at me? Viacinha asked. Vila smiled. Yes. Then it's Viazefa. All right. Good thing you're Viacinha instead of Viacinha, Luzmo said. Otherwise it might get confusing. Viamircha nodded, looking a little surprised at Luzmo and Viacinha's accents. In that case, it's Viamircha. So why are you here? She frowned, thinking. Vila. She looked up. Did you know my husband, Ferrand? She smiled sadly. I did, she said. He was my brother. Viamircha blinked. What? Faria and Mia looked up. Luzmo blinked as well, though that was more because he knew someone back in Carvinho who was also named Ferrand, and that was who sprang to mind when he heard the name, besides Fieranu, a man from the Levang. There were several differences between Vila's brother and the Ferrand and Carvinho, chief among them that the latter was alive. Vila glanced over her shoulder. We should do this inside, Viamircha. We do not know who might be listening. She nodded, though was still confused. Yes, come in. They followed her inside and found Belasheloso, Solazinha, Meria, Faria, and Mia sitting at her table. The rest of Viamircha's children were in bed, even Viatasica. Everyone, this is Verasisho's sister, Vila, and her... She frowned. Husband and daughter? Vila and Luzmo shook their heads. No, Luzmo said. We're looking after her and said she could call us Mava and Bobo. Lusasisho and I don't know what we are, Vila said. I don't neither, Luzmo said. Viamircha nodded. All right. Well, they're Luzmo and Viacinha. Good evening, said Belasheloso. I'm Belasheloso, Adiofthechasisho's godson's brother and his ebro, and my sisters are Solazinha and Meria. He indicated Faria and Mia. And they're two of his daughters, Faria and Mia. There are more of us, but they're sleeping or running around playing hero, said Faria. Mia nodded. A lot more. Vila smiled. I know. You sound like my new maba, Viacinha said. Vila nodded. We're in Ozin, Viacinha. That's where I come from. Luzmo frowned. Ferrand's godson. He's the Arasico, right? Belasheloso, Solazinha, and Meria exchanged wary glances. Faria, Mia, and Viamircha frowned. Vila nodded. He is. At least, that's what I've heard. How did you know that? Belasheloso asked. Luzmo frowned. Bit of a long answer, and one that don't start out sounding very good. I'm a Soledo, Vila said. We know a lot of things. We'll leave it at that. Viamircha smiled. You sound like Verasisho. She did as well, and he sounded like a Soledo. Belasheloso seemed to be warming to them. So, do you know how Ulbinos is doing? He asked. Luzmo frowned. What's a binos? Viamircha smiled. It's what they call Linscosisho, my godson. When we don't call him Ushekiso or Galikiso, Meria said, or short, or Linscosiquino Kiso, or Linscosiquino Sikiso. Only you do that, said Solazinha. And you haven't called him Linscosiquino Sikiso in a while. Meria rolled her eyes. 'Cause the rest of you are too busy hugging him. One of us has to make fun of him. Can we really call ourselves his siblings if we don't? She frowned. Yes. Meria sighed. You just don't get it. Belasheloso smiled. How'd he get out? We got a letter, but it weren't very clear on that, he said. Fafia and Nismo had gotten Princess Silenda to write a letter for them to their family, explaining what had happened. But at Viacilenda's insistence, they had left out details such as Azania Losa, and anything else related to him being their Ashasiko. Much to his dismay, though, they had added in how he had been captured, something Meria had gleefully added to her list of things to tease him about. Well, I ain't exactly sure how we escaped. I got lost and went there, Luzmo said. Wait, you worked with them? Belashal also said, his eyes narrowing. Like I said, it starts out looking bad, he said defensively. He sighed. I don't work with them no more. Long story. He glanced down at where his right hand had once been. Yes, and it's also not what we came here for. The point is, we don't like them as much as you don't. Maybe more, Vila said. Luzmo nodded. To grab brother, my hand in Viacisa's freedom. They all looked at Luzmo and Vila, alert. What do you mean they took her brother? Did someone kill Bobo? Mia asked, her tone sharp. Vila nodded. Mia crossed her arms and looked at her family and Elinsco's siblings, though her gaze was not exactly triumphant. I was right! I told you someone did, and no one believed me, she said. Faria sighed. Lavia blinked. Goodness, how rude of me. Come sit and eat with us, then tell us what happened. Bella Sijol, would you take their cloaks? Marie Sija, could you make sure they have places to sit? She looked at Vila and Luzmo. Have you eaten yet? We have some food left over from dinner. She glanced at Viacinha. That poor girl should probably eat anyway. We haven't, said Vila, but be careful with Viacisa. She's half-starved, and I've heard that eating good food after so long can make you sick. Maybe some bread and jam and a cup of milk. This seemed to confuse Viacinha, but she did not say anything. Viamirsha nodded. Solasija, could you handle that? Belashal also nodded and did so. Maria pulled up a few more chairs, and Solazinha got some food, doing what Vila suggested for Viacinha. Though it was not much, Viacinha still stared at it with wide eyes. Vila told her to eat slowly, which confused her. Luzmo and Vila told her again about how she might get sick because she had not eaten well in so long. They were not sure why, but they told her they guessed it was because her body was not used to so much food, so it panicked. Viamirsha sat back down, her expression grave. All right, so what happened to Ferrasisho? Vila sighed. As I said, we, Lusasisho and I, that is, got wrapped up with the Rosene. Well, we have some things that we want to keep secret. She blinked. They have secrets. Can't believe I still do that. Anyway, if someone got too close to the truth, he'd be killed. She let out a long breath. That's what happened to Ferraquiso. He got too close to the truth. She looked up. I tried to stop her. I promise I did. She sighed. But I couldn't. And she killed him. Hit him on the head with a rock and held him under water until he drowned, then threw him in the river. She remembered how she had been too shocked to do anything, then fighting and failing to get Athisika off her brother, and eventually crying when she realized he was dead. She remembered the look on his face when he saw her, the confusion, possibly even anger in his eyes. She hated to think that he could have died thinking she wanted him dead. Can you tell us anything else? Who killed him? Viamirsha asked. She shook her head. I can't. If she knew you knew who she was, she'd come after you too. Ferraquiso was killed for knowing too much. I can't let that happen to you. Your children in the Ajacicco have already lost him. They can't lose you too. Please. Her voice shook. He was my husband. And my father, said Faria. Solazinha nodded. He was like a father to Ulbinos. All of us, really, after Bobo died. Mia's response was less calm. She glared at Vila. He was my father. I don't care how dangerous this person is. You're telling us. Faria reached out a hand to calm her, but she batted it away. Vila sighed. All right. Her name's Kakesha, but she's been calling herself Athisika, and people used to call her Kesha. Don't confuse her with her sister, Kaka, called Kakasika, or her other sister, Kakesha, called Kaka. Especially not Karasika, Luzmo said. She's actually a nice woman. Vila nodded, then looked up. And do not let her know you know that, or that you know someone killed Ferraquiso. Like I said, your daughter in the Ajacicco can't lose you too, so as far as you know, he drowned in the river. Got it? Viamirsha nodded. We understand. Viamirsha and Faria let out a long breath, and Mia looked the most peaceful she had since Ferron died. Finally, after all this time, we know the truth, said Viamirsha. Mia nodded. The question that's haunted me for a year has been answered. Does this mean you'll stop being so grumpy all the time? Faria asked. She's 13, Farisija. What do you think? Solazinha asked. Viamirsha frowned. We must find some way to tell Thafakisa and Linscosijo, she sighed. Only we could read. Varia frowned. They'd know if they were with us. Mia nodded bitterly. Belasha Loso, Solazinia, and Maria narrowed their eyes. No one was allowed to criticize their brother's decisions. Except them. They had their reasons for leaving Farigisa, said Viamirsha. That seemed to do little to calm her. I'll bet you could find someone to write for you, Luzmo said, and she could find someone to read it to her. Vila frowned. You shouldn't write to her. You don't know who else might read it. Tell her in person. Her birthday and Dralirfiesh are coming up, aren't they? You can tell her then. Viamirsha nodded. Yes, I can. Thank you for telling me what happened to him. Vila shook her head. No, really, it was the least we could do. Well, still, thank you. She nodded to where Luzmo's right hand had once been. My abro, Father Jeanfao, is a doctor of sorts. You should go see him about that. He's a priest in Sorravigno. It's just a bit north of here, but it's so small I'm surprised it's got its own parish. Luzmo nodded. Ah, well. Maria frowned. I feel like you still owe us some answers. Can you explain the whole thing with the Rosene now? She sighed. We can't tell you too much. Can you tell us something? You can't just say something like that and not explain it. Vila looked to Luzmo, then sighed again. All right, we'll tell you what we can, she said. So they told her all they could, and even Viacinha spoke a little about what had happened to her. Viacinha took the Fiazold bed, which left one more that Luzmo and Vila argued about. You should take it. We'll be fine on the floor. No, you just got your hand cut off. You should take the bed, Vila said. And the Roseni camps don't exactly have proper beds. Exactly. I haven't slept in a real bed in 5 years. I can handle one more night. No, really, I'm fine with sleeping on the floor, Vila said. Now, you should take the bed, Luzmo said. At this point, Maria had gotten tired of listening to this. This is the most friendly argument I've ever heard, but please, stop it! Solve it the Aledan way. In Aleda, the middle child inherited. For example, if there were 5, the third inherited. And if there was an even number, they would decide it by a great competition. They slammed their fists on an open palm 3 times before picking an item to shape their hand into. A fist for rock, an open hand for parchment, and a closed hand with the index and middle fingers extended for shears. Rock beat shears, parchment beat rock, and shears beat parchment. The first one to win twice won the inheritance. Tonatera did the same, but only counted boys. Though Luzmo did not much want to resolve this argument with the Tonateran method, he and Vila did so, and Luzmo won. So Vila took the bed. You still awake, Viacinha? Luzmo asked after a little. Vila looked over at him. Yes, why? He fidgeted. I was just thinking about what King Relezo was saying. She frowned. About our relationship? He blushed and nodded. Yes. She smiled. Are you trying to get me to say if I love you? No! He paused. I mean, if you do, then... He paused again. Forget I said anything. Musa Sigil, we have to talk about it at some point. He blinked. Right. She smiled. So, what do you think? How do you feel about me? He thought. Well, I love you. I want you to be safe and happy, and I'm happy when I'm around you. When you were gone, I was worried that something would happen and I wouldn't ever see you again. Do you love me like you want to marry me, or do you just want to be very good friends? He paused again. I ain't sure. Guess I've thought about marrying you a few times, but I didn't think it could happen with Kesha right there. She laughed a little. Honestly, so have I. What do you think? She thought for a moment. I feel the same. I want nothing else but for you to be safe and happy. I'd do anything for you, and I love you more than anything. For the sake of your soul, Aunt, that ain't true, he said. She laughed, and he smiled. So, do you want to marry me? He asked. She paused again. Maybe. Like you, I've thought about it, just not much. I never thought we'd be able to. Kesha doesn't have the greatest history with weddings, in case you couldn't tell. He laughed a little. I've noticed. And I'm guessing you'll not tell me what happened? No. There was another pause before she spoke again. What do you think? Should we get married or not? Maybe. He thought for a moment. Think so? He laughed a little. It'd make things a lot less weird if we were. What about you? I think so too, but we'll have to think about it some more before we decide anything. He nodded. Yes, he sighed. This is one thing I don't like about being raised by friars. His best source on romantic love was Brother Jean-Val, a widower, but who needed experience when one had theology? The rest of the friars, apparently, since any time he had asked anything about marriage or girls in general not related to theology or philosophy, they sent him to Brother Jean-Val, or gave him the joking advice of not kissing until his first child was born. Though it had taken a while for him to figure out the joking part. Brother Josebo had gotten married during that incident in Tonatera, but that had been annulled the moment he got back to Quinia for multiple reasons, including, but not limited to, that he had only participated in the ceremony because he was magically forced to, he was a priest, and the girl had been 15 and equally unwilling, though she had been threatened, not magically forced into it. He had helped the girl and her mother escape later, though. They lived in Sonera, and the girl had gotten validly married a year ago. She laughed. Must make you wish you were a Leonrite. He frowned. No, religious can't be married there neither. Some laymen actually take vows of chastity without joining an order. Really? I didn't know that. Maria threw her pillow at them. Go to sleep! Kiss, I'll go back to bed. Solazinia mumbled, still half asleep. 25 years of having younger siblings and living with 8 crying babies meant she could sleep through almost anything. But Lasciarosso, who had dealt with 1 more crying baby and 3 more years of younger siblings, had not even stirred. I'm trying! Luzmo, Vila, and Viacinha stayed for the night and left in the morning. They found the friars in Carvinho, and they were so happy to finally find Luzmo again that most of them cried, especially the ones who had been there since he was a baby. Brothers Agriado, Josebo, and the Chonfo. In the time they had spent apart, Luzmo had gotten to be taller than Brother Agriado. Luzmo was happy that there was a man shorter than him. They did warn him to be careful about staying with a girl he was not related or married to. Brother Chonfo again gave the advice of not kissing until their first child was born, and said that holding hands was a near occasion of sin, and making eye contact was a sin. And to the second, Luzmo dryly responded that if it was, he was doing a great job at it. And Brother Josebo offered to say their wedding if they got married. Luzmo also told them what happened to Brother Dorion. They said he had told him that he was there to spy on Luzmo and keep track of them, but the friars had convinced him to stop working with Ethisica, so he left to start the Dorians instead. They had not told Luzmo about it because they were worried about putting him in danger. Brother Dorion had not known what they planned to do to Luzmo, just that Ethisica wanted him to make sure they knew where he was, and he had not known that she was Kesha. Even if he did, he was worried any information about her would put the other friars in danger. So while the friars guessed she had something to do with it, they did not know anything else about her, and certainly not enough for it to be an actual lead in the search for Luzmo.